so-and-so, he says he mugged some Japanese guy and took all his money and went to the liquor store and bought this stuff and came back to the train.
Oh my goodness.
And they got stinking drunk in that train.
Yeah.
But it was all metal, and the floor all sloped down to the center of the car and the center of the aisle, and it had a drain there, so it drained out onto the tracks.
Oh my goodness.
And those guys puked their guts out. It all run down out of the floor of the car that night.
Yeah.
And there wasn't anything I could do about it. And we got to, I think it was, I don't know what town it was now. It was Tokyo or some Japanese town, or it was headquarters. And this colonel was briefing us, and there was 24 of us, and he says, I need 14 volunteers for Korea.
And you volunteered?
And 13 of these young kids all stepped forward and said, because it was 18 months in Japan or 12 months tour in Korea.
Yeah.
And so I said, well, Colonel, I'm a little older than the rest of these guys, and I'm married. And I says, just what's the mortality rate on weathermen over in Korea? I said, in weather school, they showed us films of a weatherman squatted down behind a bush, swinging the sling psychrometer over his head, and bullets whizzing around through the bush.
Really?
I said, is that the way it is all over Korea? I laughed. He said, no, anything like that. We've never lost a weatherman in Korea yet. Probably never will. And he says, you're more likely to get killed here in Tokyo from one of these crazy taxi drivers running over you.
Oh, yeah.
And he says, you don't have to worry about being dangerous over there in Korea.
Yeah.
You're not going to be up on the battle line. I said, well, okay, I'll make the 14th man and go to Korea then. So I went over there, and I'd been there, I don't know, a week or two, and commanding officer of the weather station. We were downtown Seoul, 5th Air Force headquarters. We were on the second floor, and our squadron headquarters was below us on the first floor. Our weather station had the responsibility of briefing all the pilots and the general in charge of the 5th Air Force on all the flights flying over North Korea, day and night. So we
Really?
had to brief them on the weather around the clock. And the commanding officer came in there one day and says, hey, can any of you guys type? And I said, well, I took typing in high school. I said, I'm not real efficient at it, but I can type, yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, I was older by 2 or 3 years than any of the other kids there, maybe 5 years, some of them. And he said, okay. He said, you're going to be the new station chief.
Yeah, fun.
He says, you work straight days and wear your dress uniform instead of fatigues. So I became day shift,
Huh.
dress uniform, and so
That's
forth.
how you started wearing the dress uniform.
Started doing the paperwork and taking care of the details for the forecasters and the weather observers. Did that for the rest of my year there. They tried to give me a promotion. Well, they got me one stripe. After I got over there, I got one coming out of weather school, and they got me the second one after I got over there. They tried to get me another one, but some kid from Chicago who had a lot more time and grade than I did, he complained to the commanding officer downstairs at headquarters that he should get the promotion, not me, because he had a lot more time and grade than me.
Really?
And so I didn't get the extra stripe there before we left. So the commanding officer put me in for a commendation ribbon.
Yeah.
When I got back to Chanute, my first choice rotating back home, the commanding officer, General Gates, called me over to headquarters one day and presented me with a medal from
Really?
Korea. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Do you still have it?
Yeah, it's in a drawer there at home.
Oh, you have to show me sometime.
I looked at it, I don't know, months later, years later or something, took it out of the box. It's got somebody else's name inscribed on the back of it.
Oh my goodness.
He's probably got mine with my name on it.
Oh my goodness.
So,
I think I remember you telling me about this before, and they gave you the wrong one, and they probably didn't even notice.
And then when I got back to Chanute, I'd been there about a month working shift around the clock, the weather station. And the first sergeant retired from Air Force.
Yeah.
So I don't remember now who was commanding officer at the time. Came in and says, well, hey, you were the station chief over there at weather station there at 5th Air Force Headquarters in Seoul.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you being acting first sergeant? Work straight days and do all the paperwork here. So I did. I was by then a 3-striper, and then while I was still there, I got the 4th stripe.
Really?
And was acting first sergeant and had master sergeants coming to me.
Really?
Even though I wasn't ranking them. And I worked straight days, and lots of times I'd leave early enough on Friday afternoon to get home and wait for Margaret getting off at Standard Oil Company and pick her up. And some days I'd even get home and take her to lunch.
Yeah.
But it worked out good. A few months before I was to be discharged in November of '55, they called me from base headquarters at Chinook there and says, Sergeant Ellis, we see here by your paperwork that you signed up to go to OCS when you enlisted in the Air Force.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those lion dogs. Well, I hate to tell you, but with the present waiting list to get into OCS, by the time your name will come up to go, you're going to be over the age limit and won't be qualified to go to OCS.
Oh my goodness.
I said, I'll tell you what, you just take that application you got in my file there and you stick it you know where, because in about 4 months I'll be a civilian and I won't have anything to do with the military again.
Oh my goodness.
And I won't worry about OCS.
Right.
So before I got out, November 5th, I had sold most of my uniform parts to guys that were staying in.
Yeah.
And I had the uniform that I wore home.
Mm-hmm.
That was about it. And I got back and was working Sears in the shoe department one weekend there before I went back to Lion Lumber. And because I'd been working on weekends at Sears shoe department and making a little extra money before I got out of the Air Force. And a guy that'd been in the Guard with me came in with his wife one night. Hey, Lisle, when did you get out? I told him. So where were you and what were you doing? So I told him. He says, hey, he said, I'm the commanding officer out here now at the Army Reserve on 22nd Street. He says, how about coming out and being my first sergeant? He was a fireman here in Decatur.
Yeah.
Not long since retired. I said, Bob, I appreciate it, but I says, the way I got screwed in the Air Force, I don't want to be in anything military anymore.
Oh my
I appreciate
goodness.
the offer, but I just couldn't do it.
So what did you go into after that?
Hmm?
What did you do after that?
Well, I went back to Lion Lumber Company.
Lion Lumber
Worked there
Company?
until I started on the road traveling for National Gypsum.
National Gypsum.
Yeah. And then I went back to Sears in '64. But I've looked back on it and thought many a time, I had 7 years in, and if I'd have gone in the reserves with Bob for 13 years, I could have started drawing a pension years and years ago from the military.
Oh yeah, you could have.
But I didn't want to have anything to do with the military.
I don't blame you.
And I never have since. I haven't joined any military veterans organization or anything. The nearest thing I've come to it is going out here to the clinic they've got out here on the east side of town and going over to Danville and getting hearing aids.
Hmm.
But that's all the military I've
Well, you are considered a veteran.
Oh yeah, I'm a veteran.
Yeah.
Sure.
Alright, well, let's continue this in a little bit.